The 15-year-old alleged human trafficking victim, who implicated Toronto Dr. Ernest Chu, comes from a good family living in a solid neighborhood, the officer in charge of the case says. She doesn't come from an area where you'd expect these victims to come from, Toronto Police Detective Const. Nicholas Alley, of the Human Trafficking Enforcement Unit, said Friday. It's not the bridle path, but it is a neighborhood with professional families, someplace you'd like to live. He said the girl became involved with the human trafficker, who is still at large, through a mutual friend who had already met him. Her parents said she wasn't doing badly in school. She has no apparent drug problems. We aren't sure how he was able to manipulate her, said Alley. After a few weeks, he said the trafficker convinced the victim and her friend to become prostitutes. Originally, she believed that there was a romantic relationship between her and the human trafficker, Alley said. He told her she was special and important and they were in this together. Over time, she realized she was being exploited and manipulated by him. She was giving him all her money, he explained. In the late spring of this year, she broke away, moved out of Toronto and sought help. Over the last few months, police officers built a trusting relationship with the teen, who gave a full, frank statement about her dealings with Dr. Chu, but not against the trafficker, said Alley. She's still fearful of him. It's very, very challenging to get victims, especially of sex crimes, to provide statements and testify, he said. Alley said the girl is one of at least 2 alleged victims linked to the human trafficker, who was the main subject of the investigation that snared the doctor. Chu, 32, is on a consent bail of $10,000 and living with his wife and surety, Siu Chu Lam, 27, at their Bay Street condo. He faces charges of sexual assault, sexual interference and obtaining sexual services of a female under 18 years old. Police allege Chu knew the girl was 15 years old when he met her through an online site and he prescribed her birth control medication once, which lasted 3 months. Chia's lawyer David Humphrey said his client intends to plead not guilty and will vigorously fight these charges. We are looking forward to receiving disclosure on November 16 when we return to court, said Humphrey. The College of Physicians and Surgeons of Ontario is also investigating the allegations against Chu. Chu had completed his 5-year residency, which started as an internal medicine specialist on July 12, 2012. He switched to nephrology in 2015 and the term ended in July 2017 and his certificate has expired. If he wants to continue practicing, he must now apply for an independent license to practice. We still hold jurisdiction over him at this time despite his lapsed certificate, said college spokesperson Jill Heffley, Spazzano at postmedia.com. Modern-day slaves. Human trafficking has been called modern-day slavery. These girls give all their identification, credit cards, cell phone and all their earnings to the human traffickers, Toronto Police Detective Sergeant Nunzio Tramontosi, of the Human Trafficking Enforcement Unit, said Friday. These men control these girls' every movement, when they eat, shower and who they meet, he said. They dominate every aspect of their lives. The victims, as young as 15, the same age as the alleged victim in Dr. Ernest Chia's case, net $250,000 a year and give all their earnings to their masters, Tramontosi said, adding some victims are young as 13. The younger girls can charge more and are in greater demand, he said. And these trafficker pimps often have 5 to 10 girls in their stables. And they keep control of them by hooking them on drugs such as heroin, cocaine or crack, said Tramontosi. He said the victims are daughters of doctors, lawyers and even police officers who are lured by the charming human traffickers. It's a sickening, lucrative business for these human traffickers and their victims aren't confined to marginalized youths or runaways, said Tramontosi. Some have Stockholm Syndrome, where the girls are still in love with their captors after they are rescued. The pimp trafficker is the center of these girls' universe, he added. When these girls escape, they are absolutely broken, Tramontosi explained. They have to overcome drug addictions and escape from this horrific life of abuse. It's a vicious circle. Government sources indicate 90% of all human trafficking victims are Canadians. The RCMP conducted the country's first human trafficking threat assessment, which reviewed cases and intelligence between 2005 and 2009 to gauge the extent of the crime in 2013. It confirmed that Canada's vulnerable, financially desperate and socially dislocated girls are potentially trafficking victims. But Tramontosi said victims come from all walks of life. Non-Canadian victims, which represent less than 10% of all trafficking survivors, are often brought here from Asian countries, notably Thailand, Cambodia, Malaysia and Vietnam, Eastern Europe countries.